Republican U.S. Senator Ron Johnson is calling for a federal investigation into a Wisconsin judge. Johnson asked the U.S. Department of Justice to look into allegations of misconduct. The judge, John Hyland, is overseeing a felony case against former Trump campaign attorney Jim Troupis and two others. Troupis and his co-defendants face forgery charges related to the 2020 election. Troupis alleges that Judge Hyland received help writing an order from a retired judge whose son works for Hyland. But Judge Hyland refused to step aside, saying he and his law clerk wrote the order alone. Senator Johnson wrote that it's difficult to see how Judge Hyland can be impartial, calling Troupis a victim of, quote, blatant political bias.